There is a place where the lost embers go as their light begins to fade. Ember ran, because standing still made them feel helpless. The wall glistened. The painting showed embers on a sacred journey. Ember felt so afraid and alone that it was a relief to find someone to talk to. Ember froze, almost too frightened to look away, when they noticed a small satchel. The satchel felt heavy. Ember looked inside. The statue shone brightly in the light. There was a symbol on the floor. Ember noticed something wrong. There was a round space where something used to fit. To Ember's delight, the golden statue slid perfectly into place. Ember left, feeling sorry for the stranger now alone in the dark. The stairway opened into a dark forest. Ember could feel fear taking over. They'd washed up alone, somewhere very unfamiliar. Ember felt like they were being watched. The path was blocked. As Ember approached, the flame seemed to call out. With a feeling like falling, the forest had slipped away. Ember felt lost in darkness and ruin. The caged flame stoked new hope in Ember. was almost within reach. The flame spoke and Ember listened. The flame lingered ahead. Was it trying to escape? Or leading the way? The campfire flickered into life. The ghost spoke. Hope has returned to a full. I will warm them until they choose to move on. Ember looked to the ghost for answers. This is a place between places to travel through as your light, but none have passed on in a long time. The Forest King now holds us here, and those who linger will turn forlorn. Again, that word, forlorn. The forlorn are those who lost their way along the path. If you find them, send them to me and I will guide them. I am just a guide along the way to fan the flame. So many lost embers have I seen, more than I could help. Ember thought of those they loved, those they'd left behind. There are others lost along their journey. Find them and I will guide them. Step backwards, little Ember. Look behind. Upon a small grassy cliff rests a forlorn. The stranger said, "Take care of those you care about the most." The door was sealed shut. The old gate was locked. The crow held its shining trophy tight. The stranger whispered, "Ever feel like I've never felt that? What does it feel like? Is it nice? It sounds nice." The key was nestled between the reeds, but it was just out of reach. The stranger whispered. I've never felt that. What does it feel like? Is it nice? It sounds nice. The worm looked helpless, with no way to escape. As Ember picked it up, the worm let out a little yelp. The stranger whispered. I've never felt that. What does it feel like? Is it nice? It sounds nice. The key was nestled between them, but it was just out of reach. It didn't seem like that would really help. Is it nice? It sounds nice. The broken net hung ominously around the skeleton's neck. The stranger shivered in the cold. They'd moved through such dark places. They lay down and closed their eyes. Warmth was a distant memory, stolen by the passing miles. The stranger blinked at Ember. Is it morning already? How long have I been? The stranger blinked at Ember. Is it morning already? How long have I been asleep? Barely visible through the murky water, and on a small pier with barely a sound, a lonely fisherman sat. The Ember was curious. I'm headed for the crossroad. I've heard there's a nest there, a safe place. The fisherman murmured quietly between sorrowful breaths. The fisherman felt so useless. His former joys were hollow. Sitting out there every day by the pond. Only the dark water to hear him talk. In that darkness, a glimmer flickered. A thought beating like a drum. A thought that went round and round. It all started with a frog. Ember couldn't hold on. Every day by the pond, a constant reminder. For a brief moment, the fisherman struggled to speak. He looked at Ember, hopeful. The fisherman spoke softly. There's a saw him grow from a tadpole. We were friends of us, spent every day side by side. So much better at fishing than me that catches them before I can bait them. Oh, it makes me feel useless some days. The fisherman sighed. I've wasted so much time feeling like this. The old man looked carefully at the pond, at their rod, at Ember. Well, listen to me here rambling on and on. It helps though, telling someone. Thank you, Ember. If you need help catching anything, you just ask. The fisherman noticed the broken net Ember was carrying. Let me have a look. See what I can do. With a silk thread, the fisherman carefully knotted it together. With each knot he tied, a net began to form. Here you go. Good as new. You saw the frog? Did the frog mention you asked the frog about me? See, actually, no. Please don't tell the frog how much I talk about them. If you need help catching anything, you just ask. The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. This was not how Ember had imagined the end. The gurgling of water, a deafening heartbeat. But then... the frog returned Ember's good deed by leading them to a lost forlorn. The stranger stood alone. Their friends have fallen aside. Retreating from what came next. The stranger had ventured on. Now they were deep in the woods. It felt so pointless. The stranger spoke hesitantly. Is the campfire crowded? Let me gather myself. I'll see you there. With hesitation, it offered to share its story. Its eyes were fixed on Ember, but it seemed to mean no harm. Was this the frog that the fisherman spoke of? Ember could hardly ignore the rumbling from the frog's belly. With hesitation, it offered to share its story. The stranger spoke hesitantly. Is the campfire crowded? Let me gather myself. I'll see you there. Inside was a scrap of journal. The strangers on the water went on without me. Where have I landed? Vines and thorns stretch out to trip me. Key was nestled, but it was just out of reach. The old gate was locked. Ember placed the key in the lock and slowly began to turn it. The stranger gasped for breath. Dark water slipping above their head. The sea didn't care if they sank or swam. Slowly the tides ebbed, washing over old walls. Safe harbor emerging from the inky depths. Ember reached out a hand. The stranger looked down. The ground feels good beneath my feet, friend. The Wanderer's Diary. Unfamiliar trees, a path overgrown. Is this a resting place? A place between places? I call out, but mine is the only voice. Ember found the Wanderer's Diary. The oily smell of